Remember, they attacked a building with 130 people in it, and they got a couple of gang members. That's what you ought to do, by the way. Go after them, not the 130 people. Instead, they took everybody out of the building. They zip-tied the kids. They took some of the seniors and put them into U-Hauls for hours. And many of them U.S. citizens, legally in this country, others. And instead, they detained, I mean, literally dozens and dozens of people for hours.
So after that statement from Governor Pritzker, the Homeland Security Secretary, Kristi Noem, put out a statement to us in response saying this, quote, if J.B. Pritzker actually walked the streets of his own city, he would see domestic terrorists and violent rioters attacking police officers and the scourge of violent crime as a direct result of his own policies. Also talked about all that they're finding throughout Illinois and Chicago and the specific incident he talked about. We'll invite Secretary Noem on the show to respond. Let's bring in our panel to talk about all of this. Fox News contributor Hugh Hewitt, Democratic campaign consultant Kevin Walling, and Annie Linskey, White House reporter for The Wall Street Journal. Okay, Hugh, your thoughts?
Governor Pritzker is running. He's not running very well.
100% he's running.
He's absolutely running, and he's not running well because nothing made any sense. It's all, you present him with statements, he contradicts himself. When he brought up Pinochet, I laughed out loud in the green room because it's such an absurd argument. It's such a bad reach. So he is playing the far left wing of his party, though he denied it to you. Good hard-hitting questions. He's not very good at this. And he can only win in Illinois with a billionaire's money. That's it.
I know, Kevin, that there is this attraction to talk about ICE agents and talk about incidents that happen and get investigated. He says they're sweeping, and he kind of paints with this broad brush. Broadly for the party, is this the right tone?
I don't think so. I want to hammer home what the governor said in that interview, and it was a good interview, where he talked about the need for federal resources. He concedes that crime is a problem, and he wants to go.
Also conceded that Trump closed the border.
Exactly. I mean, that was also, to Hugh's point, he's pivoting already to the middle to run in a general election because no one can disagree with what we've seen at the border since the president has taken over. But I will concede where he was strongest is when he said, Chicago does have a problem. We do have these issues. We want federal law enforcement, whether it be DEA, ATF, on the ground, but that federal troops are not the solution.
His stats are different than our stats on the murder rate, and when he said he was proud of the 19th safest city, I'm not sure about all of that, but Annie, your take?
Yeah, I mean, I think to Hugh's point, the governor is preparing, laying the groundwork for a presidential run. The commission that he talked about, is a good move for somebody who is thinking about the House of Representatives potentially being in control of Democratic hands and having hearings on issues like the ones that he wants to have documented in Illinois and in Chicago. So that's how I see that. But I'm glad you pressed him on his potential presidential run because I think that is the context by which to look at some of this.
And on the crime issue, I mean, it's clear there is a problem in Chicago.
There's a reason people are leaving Illinois. It's not just the taxes. One fact he can't argue with. Illinois is going to lose 2 congressional seats in the next census. I'm going to go from 17 to 15 because people are fleeing Illinois because of taxes, crimes, and the fact that there's violence around every corner. And the governor wants to run on that, fine, but as Annie just pointed out, it's not enough to assert a different reality. Using the old alternative facts, they're not very persuasive.
And calling ICE agents Nazi or
That's
like the Holocaust. Dave McCormick, senator from Pennsylvania, called him out on that.
Yeah, certainly not helpful. And again, to Hugh's point, I don't know if the Pinochet reference is necessarily helpful in that conversation. It's clear that he does have national ambitions. This is a great thing for the governor, though. Every time Donald Trump mentions him by name, and we saw that in the East Room today with the president and this task force, this Homeland Security task force, they are actually each other's best friends and frenemies because, as the governor said, he lives rent-free in the president's head and vice versa.
All right, Annie, I want to turn to foreign policy. Caroline Levitt on U.S. sanctions on Russia.
If you read the sanctions and look at them, they're pretty hefty. And I saw some international news out of China this morning that they're scaling back oil purchases from Russia. We know India has done the same at the request of the president. The president has also pushed European countries, our allies, to please stop their purchases of Russian oil as well. So it's full court press for sure.
Reuters, Putin says Russia will never bow to U.S. pressure. U.S. sanctions are an unfriendly act and will have certain consequences, but they will not significantly affect our economic well-being. Russia's energy sector feels confident, he said. This, of course, an attempt to put pressure on Russia, but no self-respecting country and no self-respecting people ever decides anything under pressure. However he does, whenever he gets under pressure, he suddenly is pushing for another meeting, whether it's Alaska or Hungary. If China is pulling back on oil, that would be significant.
That would be significant. These new sanctions, despite what Vladimir Putin might say, are significant. That's a major step for Trump. I mean, what you're seeing now, I think, with the White House is Trump pivoting from the Middle East, where he used force of personality to get these warring parties to the table, and he's pivoting to the war in Ukraine and using some of the same tactic. He alone can solve it, and he has he's pivoted to being tougher, a little bit tougher on Putin, and that's something new that we haven't seen.
What about tough on drug cartels and boats in the Caribbean and the Pacific?
I'm very comfortable with this. There are limits and areas the commander-in-chief power does not extend to. This is not one of them. I've been teaching constitutional law for 3 decades, and the president can take out weapons of mass destruction at will, and fentanyl is a WMD. Ask the parents of everyone who has been killed by it.
Kevin, are you energized and upset about the East Wing renovation with the ballroom?
I think there's bigger fish to fry. Our government is still shut down day 22 or 23 of the struggle. We're going to see premiums go up. We're going to see the SNAP benefit issue that you highlighted earlier in the show. So I think this is a sideshow. Even though I think this is actually breaking through with a good part of the electorate when they see bulldozers taking it to the White House and the optics of that.
Yeah, it's optics.
It's all optics.
Carolyn Levitt brought pictures, though, to the podium today. What Donald Trump is doing at the end will be applauded by every future president because the White House will finally have room to have a state dinner above 200 people.
Yeah, Democrat or Republican will be in that ballroom.
This Democrat will gladly go to the first state dinner in
there you
that
go.
ballroom.
Finally, anybody want to weigh in on this sports, this massive ring that they've busted on sports betting and poker?
I'll tell you off the top, I spent 3 hours on the radio today talking about this because it's
a
an
talker.
enormous story. It's a gigantic story. And the 4 crime families named I haven't heard since Rudy Giuliani was U.S. attorney in New York. So out of nowhere comes this enormous Godfather and the NBA. There is no bigger story tomorrow in America.
I agree. You buy that, Annie? Are you an NBA fan?
I mean, look, this is not something that I participate in, so I'm going to defer to my other panelists here.
$150 billion industry, sports betting just last year. It's going to be $165 billion this year. It's a massive scandal.
All right, panel. Thanks. Covered a lot.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.